Welcome back to Memorial Stadium in Clemson, South Carolina. The Tigers leading 24-0 here at halftime. With Mike Tomczak, I'm Dave Armstrong, and so glad to have you back with us for what was really expected to be one of those games where Clemson would just kind of get their feet under them, and they did that, Mike, and then they came out and had this 24-0 lead.
Well, they took advantage of some miscues by Florida Atlantic. Will Proctor, the first-year starter, fifth-year senior, has done a nice job managing the game and getting the ball into the hands of the primary targets on the outside and also in the backfield.
Now let's check out one of those primary targets as we look at those first-half highlights. And his first target, not a bad one. A guy that's all ACC and Chancey Stuckey.
But Chancey Stuckey, you don't isolate him on one-on-one coverage. If you do, you're going to get burnt. And Will Proctor found him.
Tommy Bowden really upset in this first half, and we found out that he was upset that he was going to take an official challenge on the fumble earlier, and they did not allow him to have that challenge, or they didn't hear that he wanted a challenge. Well, Merriweather then takes it in for a score, and here is a great pick on the outside by Hamlin.
Well, Michael Hamlin sat on this route the whole way. He read the quarterback size and was right position to make a big play. And what happens at the end of that? Will Proctor finds Aaron Kelly for the converting score, going up 24-0 at halftime, and pretty much tells the whole tape of the game, Dave.
Well, you'll see the rushing yards a big advantage for Clemson. Passing yards started to get better for Florida Atlantic, especially when they went to their backup quarterback, Clayton. He really moved the team in the second quarter, but third downs not successful so far for Florida Atlantic. Clemson 8 of 10. That's a great percentage, and they've got to be real happy. 3 of 4 in the red zone.
Well, 3 of 4 in red zone. I think they're going to look at this pretty aggressively. How can we get better in the red zone? They had 2 scoring drives and also a running touchdown there, but you know, you can't have a lot of productivity in the red zone if you don't score touchdowns. Field goals are okay, but touchdowns are even greater.
Well, you see for Florida Atlantic, Clayton went 6 of 11, played in the second quarter. Kind of guessing he might play in the third quarter as well. Pierre and Simeon also chipped in, but not much. Proctor, good first half, wouldn't you say? 9 of 13, 121. He did have the 1 turnover on the fumble, but he threw for 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, I think he only had 1 bad pass or 1 bad decision when he was scrambling out of the pocket earlier in the first half. Throw the football away, live for another down, but they got their field goal as the end result.
Merriweather, 8 rushes. He had the touchdown, and we'll see. Will it be Sean Clayton to start the second half, or they'll go back to their starter, Rusty Smith? An interesting decision for Howard Schnellenberger as we begin play here in the third quarter. It's Florida Atlantic to kick off. Worley Leroy to kick it. And the kick will push forward back to near the goal line. Ford makes a good move. And then down at the 20, falls forward to the 21-yard line. They really kind of bottled Ford up and never gave him much room to run. So we start the second half with Clemson leading 24-0. Glad you could join us for college football today on ESPNU. And again, Will Proctor. A big part of the success of Clemson this year will be how this fifth-year senior is able to manage the game. Tommy Bowden told us this week he doesn't necessarily need Will Proctor to win games. He just doesn't want him to lose any.
And I think he can win games for this ball club when it's clutch time. You know, leading a 2-minute drive late in the game because he has the poise and he has the experience now. Now he's finally gotten some reps under center in game-like conditions.
Not much room to run today for James Davis. Sincere there to make the stop. Davis really hasn't gotten it going yet today.
Well, I think personally he's looking for just a little gap to get through there and show that speed in the open field. You know, he's kind of picking his way through the line of scrimmage instead of just trusting it, hitting it. And so much is involved in the running game, but the trust factor is a thing you really have to account for.
James Davis, of course, freshman of the year in the ACC. Let's see what he does in his sophomore campaign. And he knows there's C.J. Spiller behind him and also Reggie Merriweather. Proctor wants to go for it all. And off the shoulder pads of Aaron Kelly. The pass was a little bit underthrown. Kelly had to come back for it. And it went off his shoulder pads, incomplete.
Well, nice coverage by the Florida Atlantic Owls. You had 2 safeties back there. I don't know if Will Proctor should have thrown this, but he's taking a chance because Aaron Kelly's a tall target. But if you're Aaron Kelly, number 80, they're going to film room tomorrow and tell him, if you're going to jump, go ahead and extend your hands. And if he extends his hands a little bit more, he's going to have an opportunity for the ball not to get into his body and consequently turned to an incompletion.
Even though it was a little bit underthrown, I'm sure Kelly would even say that was a catchable ball. Now 3rd and 8. This time throwing it into traffic, Proctor, and it's picked off by Acevedo. Acevedo was the man that got in the way of that last pass. This time he picks it off the deflection.
Only 3 things happen when a ball's thrown. 1, a completion, 2, an incompletion, and the 3rd one you don't want to talk about that much. A tip ball up in the air is going to end up in an interception. Acevedo was perfect position to make that play, but anytime the ball gets up in the air, Dave, it's free game.
It went off the hands of Chancey Stuckey, but that pass was really forced in there by Proctor.
Not a good ball location. I'm sure we're going to talk about it to the quarterback coach on the sideline and try to rectify things. You don't want to get lazy with your habits in the second half of the 24-0 lead.
It is Sean Clayton in there starting the 3rd quarter as we suspected for Florida Atlantic. Why not? He moved this team in the 2nd quarter. Clayton might have reasserted himself as the starting quarterback for the Owls with his performance here today.
Well, he has a pretty good understanding of this offense. He's been in the program a year and a half longer than Rusty Smith. I like the play call. They go to the wide side of the field. It gives Sean Clayton enough area to see the field real clearly. And when in doubt, he can always tuck it up. You're going to see that play come back into their huddle before the afternoon's over.
Clayton, a junior, but he also transferred from Michigan State. So he is an older junior player for the Owls. Started the last 2 games of last year. Throws it out on the flat. The pass is complete on the far side. And the pass is caught by Chad Wilkes. So you see Clayton's numbers. Good stuff. That 1 interception, though, very costly. The Owls were moving it, and he threw an interception at around the 10-yard line.
I think Gary Nord, the offensive coordinator, feels more comfortable. He's getting into a rhythm as well. Once you have success at the quarterback position, you know, making first downs and making throws, you can elaborate on that game plan.
It was interesting in talking to Coach Schnellenberger about his 2 quarterbacks. Good play by Pierre to avoid a tackle behind the line of scrimmage. In talking about his 2 quarterbacks, Smith and Clayton, he said it kind of reminded them a little bit of the Bernie Kosar, Vinny Testaverde situation at Miami back in the 80s.
Well, it's always competitive at Miami, and we got a former national championship quarterback that does radio for Florida Atlantic. Steve Walsh is next to us. So there's a lot of Miami Hurricanes sneaking up in the state of South Carolina.
Well, and you think on Schnellenberger's staff, a lot of these guys loyal to him for many, many years. A lot of them were with him at Miami and at Louisville. Clayton with time to throw. This one deflected and almost picked off. Antonio Clay got there, but just a little bit late. Antonio Clay playing today with a heavy heart. His sister died in a 1-car crash earlier this week. He just got back from the funeral.
Well, he's playing with a heavy heart, and you know, coaches were not really figuring out who's going to start at linebacker, but Antonio Clay went in there, talked to the coaches, talked to Vic Koenig and Coach Bowden, and said, I want this opportunity. I want to be on the field with my teammates. And that's where these players feel more comfortable when something adverse happens on the playing field.
Clay getting the start at the Sam linebacker position, because at least for the moment, Clemson has lost linebacker Tremaine Billy to a broken right ankle. They're not sure yet what to do with Billy, whether they're going to redshirt him or not. He's going to miss at least 4 games, and they're thinking about redshirting the senior linebacker.
I'm sure a lot of that has to do with the medical staff and the training staff to see how his rehab is going. And bones do heal, but some heal a lot quicker, and maybe they're doing something extensive, because I know he wants to be on the playing field and go out as a senior with the senior group of athletes.
3rd down here, a big one for Florida Atlantic. Remember, just 1 of 5 on 3rd down conversions today. This first down possibility at the 2-yard line for the Owls. Clayton, looking through all of his possibilities, just throws that one out of bounds. So now what do you do, Mike? You're down 24-0. Do you go for the field goal, or do you go for it on 4th and 6?
I think you need to get something positive. Remember, last time they were down in the red zone on 3rd down, they threw an interception that went all the way back to the 20-yard line. Coach Schnellenberger is a smart coach. He realizes positive points. I mean, you want to end a drive with something positive. And this is an opportunity for them to get something on the board and get back in this game. And if they can create another turnover, Dave, like I told you going out at halftime, There's a lot of time in the clock.
Leroy got it to curl inside the goalpost, and the Owls are on the board. Howard Schnellenberger able to applaud for the first time today for his offense as they're able to put points on the board. They get down into the red zone and come away with a field goal. So Florida Atlantic cashes in on the turnover by Clemson, the intercepted pass, and they're able to get on the board a 7-play drive that went 31 yards, and Worley converts the 24-yard field goal. Again, Acevedo with that interception of the Will Proctor pass after the ball was tipped, and that resulted in the first points of the game for the Owls. So now here comes Leroy to kick off. Again, that freshman tandem back there for the Clemson Tigers. C.J. Spiller and Jacoby Ford. And it's Spiller just into the end zone. Spiller loses the ball, and Florida Atlantic's got it. Another turnover, the 4th of the game for the Tigers.
It's about adjustments at halftime, but more importantly, making things happen for you. Special teams, kickoffs, defense. I mean, here's a freshman, his first time in a collegiate game. C.J. Spiller trying to do too much. Opportunistic team in Florida Atlantic knocking on the door again.
And a player down for Howard Schnellenberger. That's Edward Bradwell, a backup linebacker who was hurt on that kickoff. But another turnover, and you wonder, Mike, if Clemson came out, boy, they really come out flat. And you wonder why. I mean, they had a 24-0 lead. Did they rest on their laurels a little bit?
I don't know if they rested on their laurels. They don't have, much credibility. Still a true freshman coming in there. Just a nice strip by the kickoff team, and there's guys always around the football. Once you get that ball airborne, whether it be up in the air or down on the ground, there's guys that love to get on that football pretty quickly.
Tommy Bowden was knowing he was going to play 8 true freshmen here today, and he knows he's going to have to suffer through some of those pains of playing young guys, but he thought in this game especially he wanted to get a look at some of these young guys, and they like the excitement that guys like Spiller and Ford really offer. So sometimes you got to take the bad with the good.
Well, you got to put him in a situation too, and I think when coach looks at the film, he's going to realize here's a guy trying to make a play, but maybe a little too much. Know the situation. Coaches talk about knowing the situation all the time. 24-3 lead. They're trying to gain some more momentum back. Protect the football. It's very costly when you don't.
Inside the 20, back in the red zone for the Owls. Play action pass for Clayton. And the pass is incomplete, intended for Simeon.
And I like the adverse conditions that the defense is put under. You talk about maturity. These guys are going to have to grow up quick if these adverse conditions continue. I mean, Anthony Waters, their captain, their perennial All-American, number 40, has got to rally these guys and say, this is our time to stop them right now. We need to get the momentum back on our sideline.
Lots of time for Sean Clayton. Now he wants to run with it, and forced out of bounds at the 10-yard line, and then he goes down right in front of that wall down there. He's okay.
Sean Clayton, the one interception that he has today, he knew he forced a football, so he's learned from his mistake already. Nobody was open, make something positive. There was a 3rd down situation the last play that he threw it out of bounds and allowed his team to go out there for a field goal opportunity. But this is maturity. The best way to mature in this game is when you're in game-like conditions. And Sean Clayton is growing up pretty quickly in this offense.
Came up limping just a little bit here, Mike.
I'm sorry, Dave, but he did play tight end at Michigan State. You mentioned earlier he was a tight end up there, and he did play quarterback in high school, but when he decided to transfer, he wanted another opportunity to play quarterback at Florida Atlantic.
That effort by Clayton is going to be called back, a penalty against the Owls. And repeat 2nd down. They take the ball back to the 27-yard line. There's a holding call against the Owls. And that brings up 2nd and 20 instead of second down and just 3 yards to go. Pass in the flat is caught.
Pass is complete to number 88, Jason.
That's Jason Harmon. Short gain on the play. Well, you think of all these turnovers for the Tigers here today. 4 turnovers in all, an interception and 3 fumbles. Clemson had only 5 fumbles all of last year, and today they have 3.
Well, that's not going to sit well with the coaches tomorrow in meetings, because you need to minimize those mistakes if you're going to be a perennial power in the ACC. And I'm looking for Gaines Adams to do something defensively for Clemson. He's been pretty quiet over there. I think Rizzo, number 71, is doing a nice job at right tackle.
3rd and 14. Clayton forced out of the pocket. Now he's going to be brought down by Coleman, who stood his ground. And that'll bring up 4th down and another field goal try, we suspect, from Leroy.
Well, Florida Atlantic went to a max protection. They only had 2 receivers out in that route. They tried to protect the quarterback. Things broke down, and Sean Clayton was just trying to make something positive there and give their team an opportunity to put 3 more points on the board.
It'll be a 33-yard attempt for Leroy. His first one good from 24 yards out. The second half has seen Clemson turn it over twice. Florida Atlantic cashed in the first time with a field goal. Let's see if they can add 3 more. The kick is up, and it is good. So Leroy with a couple of field goals, and Howard Schnellenberger is the team applauding now as they've cashed in on a couple of turnovers by Clemson. Clemson has dominated the stat page except for 4 turnovers that have been costly to them. 24-6 our score with 9:09 remaining in the 3rd quarter. Tonight at 10 Eastern right here on ESPNU, the Florida A&M Rattlers look to avenge last season's loss to the Delaware State Hornets. The 2 MEAC rivals meet in the 4th annual Detroit Ford Football Classic. For more information, log on to ESPN.com. Well, let's see if Spiller can hang on to this one. Instead, it's going to be Ford with the ball. No, it's not. Yeah, it is. Ford, excuse me. Ford has it. We're talking about the Ford Classic, and this time Ford has a better idea because he hangs on to the ball, but a holding call against Clemson.
Potentially holding. Came from the back, Judge.
Yeah, it's an illegal block. Here's Brad Allen.
During the return, holding number 42, the receiving team. 10-yard penalty from the end of the run. First down.
A lot of miscues for Clemson. You expect some in your first game. But when you have this many turnovers, the fumble that they wanted to challenge and never did get the official challenge. That's what made Tommy Bowden so upset earlier in the game. And then an interception, and then this Spiller fumbles as he's trying to make the return. 4 turnovers in all for Tommy Bowden's team in their first game of the year. So certainly some work to do for them to cut down on the number of mistakes. There's James Davis for a couple of tough yards on the left side. So you look at Clemson's miscues today, the 4 turnovers, including 3 fumbles. One where the quarterback Proctor and the running back Davis just ran into each other in the backfield. And then 4 penalties. That's not so bad for 30 yards. Although the one clipping call could have been costly if Clemson doesn't cash in with a touchdown. That was on that interception return. This time good running by Davis, and he's got a first down up to the 30. It was a good spin move by Davis.
I think you see signs of James Davis trying to crank it up a little bit. That's probably his best run of the afternoon. No hesitation. No hesitation. Just a counter gap on the weak side coming over, and he just reads his zone that gets up the field. Nice power at the end of that run.
Well, there's Davis. You think he's having a quiet day, and he's already got 51 yards on the day, averaging almost 5 yards per carry.
Oh, we didn't get big.
And this is going to help. Spun around at the 40, a gain of another 10.
James Davis, tackle number 9, Tahim
Well, James Davis starting to get in a rhythm. About 51, the linebacker on the left side of your screen runs completely past the play. James Davis is pretty quick on the spot. And, you know, when you platoon these running backs like this, Dave, when you get Merriweather and Spiller and James Davis, I think Coach Bowden right now knows he needs to get some momentum with the running game. And I think you're going to stay with this steady diet for a while.
Clemson now with 121 yards rushing today. As you see, Davis has about half of that. In and out of the hands of Thomas Hunter, the tight end.
You know, I love bootlegs in college football, and I love them in professional football, but a slow developing bootleg like that, and a bootleg is when you fake the running play to one side and you go back to the weak side of the formation. Looks like Will Proctor got a little lazy with his footwork there. He had an easy completion. Doesn't mean you have to always run and continue. Set your feet, find a target, and deliver it with confidence.
Davis again. Boy, he kicked a hole and stopped right at midfield. I think he's got another first down. Bartels with the stop.
Well, Rob Spence, the offensive coordinator, is pretty much just running the same play over and over in different formations. Again, it's that zone read play with the running back coming back to the strong side, and he just gets east and west in this stadium and gets his shoulders going forward. I mean, well-executed play at the point of attack.
Don't look now, but Davis up over 70 yards rushing. This pass goes to Stuckey. It was actually a lateral pass and then forced out at the 45. Crowd wanted a little extracurricular. They're not going to get that call.
Yeah, it's a collision sport. These guys are used to getting hurt.
Yeah.
Or getting hit at least.
You ever get used to that?
You get paid to accept pain. That's what it amounts to. It doesn't really hurt during the course of the game because your adrenaline's flowing so much. It's just those Monday mornings when you get up and think you need to put an ice pack somewhere.
Yeah, and as you get older, you still hurt Thursday, Friday, right?
I'm all right at the young age of 43.
Wide open, Stuckey. Still on his feet. And now a gang tackle at the 29. 16-yard gain. This is a good drive for Proctor and company.
It's a very good drive. Just a slant route on the left side of your screen. There's two holes in a slant route. Usually it's before the linebacker and after the linebacker. And Will Proctor did a nice job locating that area of location and giving Chancey Stuckey an opportunity to get down the field. You know, this is what Coach Bowden wants to see, a team responding after two adverse situations.
They fake to Davis, and they throw it on the wing. Good completion to the fullback, who hardly ever catches one, Alex Pearson.
Well, that's a nice little biscuit for Alex Pearson. You know, he's a headbanger. And then when you get him on the outside, a lot of these fullbacks don't have great hands. You got to put it right between the 4 and the 1. And Proctor did a nice job there. And some fullbacks will disagree with me, but they're not used to catching the football. You see them all the time in practice. Throw it to me, I'm open. And that ball gets up on them so quick that they can't adjust their eyes.
There might be a reason they're open.
Yeah, they're slow.
Davis, do you see the hesitation? Now all the way in for the score. Wow.
What a nice drive after that holding call and a kickoff return. Mix it up with the running game, the passing game. James Davis got into a pretty good rhythm on that series and concludes that series with a 22-yard touchdown run.
That was a drive that really belonged to James Davis. Had several 10-yard runs during that drive and then caps it with that 22-yard touchdown run. That's the way to retake control of the game. 94 yards today for Davis, and this touchdown from 22 yards out. And Clemson regains command, leading 31-6. James Davis closing in on 100 yards today, and he was impressive on this last drive.
He certainly was, and he was a workload here. Look at the left side of your screen. The left guard, McDuffie, and Richardson on the left side. Give him a lane. A little hesitation allows him to get into the secondary, but the running game is all built around trust. Trusting the hole's going to be there and trusting those blocks will be executed. And James Davis is growing up as he gets his first touchdown of 2006.
Had 9 last year, his first one this year. Remember, coming off that 150-yard performance in the Champs Bowl against Colorado, and now 94 yards here today. Wise move by Holly as he's a good 10 yards deep in the end zone. He decides to down it. And Florida Atlantic will take over at the 20. James Davis, the ACC Freshman of the Year. And he is pointing out to all of his teammates that there's reason to smile now as Clemson with that score to lead 31-6.
Well, he's doing the right thing there by going to his offensive line, the guys that made it happen for him. That's a smart young running back that knows where to give the props to.
So Sean Clayton still in there at quarterback for the Owls. He took over in the second quarter by design after Rusty Smith, the redshirt freshman, really struggled in the first quarter. Now this play is going to be blown dead before it really gets underway. The line judge blowing it dead. And we'll see the call. It's going to be against the Owls.
Prior to the snap, false start. Offense number 52. 5-yard penalty from the previous spot. It remains first down.
That's on Nello Falk, the lone senior on that line, moving from center out to the left tackle position.
I told you earlier, Dave, the last series I was pretty impressed with the right tackle. John Rizzo, number 71, is doing a nice job on the All-American Gaines Adams. We haven't called Adams' name that much today.
No, he hasn't played in the second half. Instead, they're going with the youngsters. We're seeing more of Cannon and Ricky Sapp, a true freshman. So it looks like they're going to give Gaines Adams the rest of this day off. That pass complete to Holly.
Well, I don't know if that's a smart coaching move. He needs reps, and you know, early in the season, you're going against your same teammates day in and day out through summer camp, through spring ball. You need some fresh meat. You need to go against the guys in the white as much as possible.
Yeah, but what if you risk an injury here in a game that looks like you have well in hand?
Well, there are a lot of what ifs in this game, and I just think that number 93 needs to be on the field because he might be just taking a blow for a series.
2nd and 5 from the 25. Clayton on a design draw play goes nowhere. That was Donnell Clark who blew that one up right in the middle.
It was a slow developing play, and you've seen Donnell Clark, number 44, suffered a torn ACL the 7th game of last season. So the spirited senior from Griffin, Georgia, is getting out there and getting his name recognized across the country.
Good use of alliteration, too. The spirited senior. I like that. 3rd and 5. Quick toss on the flat. And enough for the first down. Again, that pass complete to Avery Holly. Freshman for the Owls.
I would go to the same set all the way down the field. I would spread them out, stay shotgun, try to go hurry up offense, and just take those little 5-yard completions. You know, Holly does a nice job of getting off coverage, and I think Sean Clayton feels really comfortable, you know, in the shotgun, just reading it and throwing it and trusting it.
One of the big question marks for the Tigers this year is that secondary. They lose Ty Hill, who went to the NFL, and they also lose their safety, Jamal Fudge. And almost another pick here. Let's get you back to Mike Gleason for a SportsCenter U in-game update. Mike?
Dave, Tennessee fans knew their defense was solid last year. The offense was non-existent. Well, Eric Ainge trying to rectify that in 2006. Play action, rolls out. That's Chris Brown for the touchdown. And Tennessee scores first against the Golden Bears of Cal. Now check this out. Montana State, Colorado. They're moving into the 4th quarter, and Montana State holding on to a 3-point lead over the Buffaloes in Boulder. Dave?
Thanks a lot, Mike. A coaching change for the Buffs this year. And that still, though, will be a big disappointment for Colorado and Tennessee. A little pressure on them, and you know, it's an interesting matchup there. Now, see, we were just talking about an possible injury to Gaines Adams, and here's Anthony Waters, who came back. He said no to the NFL. He was going to be about a 3rd, 4th, 5th round draft pick, and he said no to that. He went and actually visited his older brother Travis in Raleigh, North Carolina, to get his advice on what he should do. Now, the interesting part of that story is that Travis is actually in prison in Raleigh, North Carolina. And his brother said, hey, go back and get your degree. Be the first one in the Waters family to get your degree. Just seeing him sit up here, that's a good sign. And we hope for the best for Anthony Waters.
Well, Sean Clayton coming out to your right side. He eludes Waters, who brings it full speed all the time, and his left knee plants, and those ligaments don't plant with it. They keep going, and that recoils like that, and he knew exactly what was wrong. That's a painful injury when it initially happens. I don't know the severity of it, but here's a guy that coaches say that plays so fast on the football field in practice and in games that sometimes he runs out of plays. And spirited senior day right there.
Yeah.
He's going to walk off the field if he can.
Boy, you hope for the best for Anthony Waters. You hope it's nothing more than just a sprained knee, nothing that would require surgery. This is a very gifted linebacker for Clemson, the top returning tackler in the ACC, had 109 tackles a year ago. By the way, he will get his degree in December in sports management.
Yeah, he needs some big boys to carry him off.
So we hope for the
seniors.
best.
Seniors in arms.
Anthony Waters. Now 2nd and 10, back to the game. Pierre. Good quick move, picks up 6. We'll bring up 3rd and 4 from there.
You know, I alluded to earlier, Dave, before he went to that injury in the field, spread the defense out by going wide and try to get something going here. But Pierre does a nice job picking his spot. There's a missed tackle there, but a little spinning. And they're going to be a pretty good football team, I believe, Dave, if they can stay healthy in the Sun Belt Conference. And there's a guy that shows a little burst for me. The sophomore to Orlando, Florida.
Louisiana Lafayette, the team that figures to give the Owls a big challenge in the Sun Belt, Mike. This is a team that's going to start by playing on the road, on the road, on the road. I mean, they don't see home until October 12th. 5 straight games away from home to begin the year. See if they can convert on 3rd down. No. Clayton held on to it too long, and he'll be sacked for the first time today.
Well, I give that sack to the secondary. We talked about the secondary being primary in our keys to the game, and they were primary there. They had those receivers blanketed down the field, and Sean Clayton couldn't even find an outlet.
Maurice Nelson able to make the sack. Nelson, a real interesting story, too, for Clemson. He was a top 5 pick out of South Carolina, and he really hasn't lived up to that billing. And he finally said last spring, you know what, it's time. And he's been much more aggressive. Well, the punter, while holding the ball, his knee was on the ground, and he downs the ball at the 18-yard line.
Punters cannot do that unless the ball hits the ground. If the ball hits the ground, he can go down and field it. But right now, he's down because that right knee does touch. Good call by Brad Allen, our head referee. You have to know every scenario, Mike O'Neill. And that'll upset a coach pretty quick because it gives him a shorter field. It's almost like a turnover, Dave.
It is. You're right. It's almost like a block punt, isn't it? So now a short field for Will Proctor and company as they have the ball at the 18-yard line. Proctor looking for the end zone. Touchdown! The J-back, Superman, Rendrick Taylor.
quickly this game gets out of hand. You have your punter take a knee on 4th down. It downs a football and gives him the ball on the 12-yard line. And then Rendrick Taylor ran a tremendous route. I mean, the quarterback did not even have to punt on that slant and go, and we'll get a look at it later.
3rd touchdown of the day for Will Proctor.
Not a bad debut.
The point after a line drive that's up into the student section. And Rendrick Taylor gets on the board.
He's a single receiver on your left-hand side. He runs a slant and go. And the route pretty much beat the corner on that side, Ricky Bethel. And that's a guy that needs to be an active part in the red zone.
I agree.
And we talked about it earlier. You got Chancey Stuckey, his one guy, and Rendrick Taylor is a big target.
He is such a tough matchup because he's too fast for a linebacker. He's too big for a cornerback.
Yeah. And hopefully these coaches can learn something from that. And obviously they did, because they went to that play right away out of a 4th down situation.
Just a one-play drive. Rendrick Taylor scoring the touchdown, and Clemson now blowing a big hole in this game. Hey, ESPN Full Circle, presented by Dish Network, Monday at 8:30 Eastern, brings you Florida State Miami from every angle. On ESPN, of course, you can catch the great rivalry. Then ESPN2 has close-ups of legendary Coach Bowden, the quarterbacks, and much more. And then here on ESPNU and on ESPN 360, they have the Sky Camp plus commentary from Colin Cowherd. For more information, log on to ESPN.com.
I'd like to get that on my computer and check out that 360.
It's going to be great.
Have you been on ESPNU.com yet?
Yes, I have. What a great new website. ESPNU.com, folks. Check it out. Now, here's the Monday matchup. Florida State and Miami. Look at their records from a year ago. And Miami with 11 returning starters. But look at Florida State. They won 5 straight, and Miami won 6 in a row. Last year, it was Florida State.
We had both of them last year, Dave, in our telecast on ESPNU. And I think it's going to come down to one of two things. What quarterback plays better and who's able to establish a running game.
Meanwhile, teams like Clemson, Boston College, Virginia Tech waiting in the wings. They want to see how those two teams are going to match up on Monday night.
And Drew Weatherford, the Florida State quarterback going into his junior year, I was really impressed with him last year. His accuracy and his managing of the game, and just very poised in the pocket.
So now Florida Atlantic will huddle over on their sidelines. Things have really kind of gotten out of hand for them of late. They started off this half, back-to-back turnovers by the Tigers, and the Owls were able to turn that into 6 points. But you really felt at the time that the Owls needed at least one touchdown out of those 2 possessions. They weren't able to do that. They settled for a couple of field goals, and since then it's been all Clemson. I mean all Clemson. And now they really seem to be fired up, Mike. After the injury to Anthony Waters, it's almost like this whole team has said, let's go get this one for AW.
Yeah, and Josh Miller was a guy that filled that hole pretty quickly. And for a linebacker to first recognize the formation and then read the guard inside, and then when you trust it, just like a running back trusts a running play, the linebacker closes very quickly and allows Charles Pierre to get nothing.
In fact, a loss of 1. 2nd and 11. Empty backfield. Clayton steps up. Fires on the run. Good coverage in that secondary by Roy Walker. And Donnell Clark was there to put some pressure on the quarterback, Clayton.
You know, I don't think the secondary's been tested today, Dave, like they'll be tested in the next couple of weeks with Boston College and North Carolina. But
Florida State.
Florida State, I'm sorry. And what I'm saying there is they're not stretching the field vertically, that being Florida Atlantic. I have yet to see one pass go down the field more than 40 yards. And these defensive backs will just sit on routes.
They probably don't feel like they have time to throw a pass that long, right?
Well, they went to a few max protections, and Sean Clayton's had some time back there, but nobody's been open downfield when they get past 20 yards.
Clayton steps to the side and fires it in there. They're going to rule it incomplete. Pass was intended for Jamari Grant. He couldn't hang on.
Well, he was in traffic, and what happens in traffic, sometimes you lose sight of the flight of the ball. And if you're a young receiver, and Jamari Grant being a young receiver, Clayton put it right where he needed to, and he tried to turn up before, his eyes never went down to his hands. And it's eye-hand coordination at the most fundamentalist form.
Spiller back, waiting the punt of O'Neal. Remember, O'Neal took a knee the last time, not this time. Good snap. And the punt a little bit wobbly. Spiller comes up to the 45. Quickly steps up across midfield. He'll be stopped at the 48. Only a 36-yard punt and a 6-yard return. So again, Clemson will begin operation in Owl territory.
Well, it seems like they've been operating on the other side of the 50 most of the afternoon here. And here's another opportunity for Will Proctor to orchestrate this offense and continue with the rhythm.
And you know what happens when a tiger gets into an owl's nest. Not a pretty sight.
A lot of feathers fly, huh? Hakuna Matata.
Don't worry, baby.
Unless you're the owl. Great deception on the handoff, and Merriweather. He goes all the way down to the 22.
Well,
26 yards.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Dave. Reggie's become a fan favorite here in his senior year. We talked about him earlier, how he just gets up the field so quickly, and once he gets into the secondary, he's very punishing. Nice deception on the handoff of the spread formation. And here's a guy who knows how to get up the field pretty darn quickly.
26-yard pickup. First and 10 to the 22.
Merriweather today 75 yards on the ground. Keep in mind Davis 94 yards. And this third quarter comes to a close. A shaky start to the second half, but the way Davis and company have been running away, Clemson has reason to applaud. They take a 38-6 lead into the fourth quarter. We go to the fourth quarter from Death Valley Memorial Stadium, and Clemson leading 38-6. The good news for the Tigers, they've put a lot of points on the board. The bad news, 4 turnovers and a possible severe injury to Anthony Waters. We're trying to get word on that. Flags come flying in. They have wholesale changes now for the Tigers, and one of those, most notably, is at quarterback. Cullen Harper, a sophomore, the second man in, trying to get him some reps just in case Will Proctor goes down sometime later in the year.
Snapping fraction. Number 71 offense. 5-yard penalty from the previous spot. It remains first down. Please reset the game clock to 15 minutes.
Well, we don't know a lot about Cullen Harper. He's had very few snaps, and he's only had 15 yards total in his career, 50% passer. But this is an opportunity that he's been looking for. I'm sure his mom and dad and family are here, and you're going to need 2 quarterbacks to get through the schedule in the ACC.
Well, he and Tribble Reese roommates as freshmen, Tribble Reese being the 3rd-string quarterback here at Clemson. And they have a very friendly rivalry to see who will be the backup to Proctor this year. Underthrown on the pass from Harper, intended for Andrew Diamande.
Well, there's a missed opportunity. Cullen Harper had man-to-man coverage. He had Andrew Diamande running free down the middle of the field, and he just didn't step into it and deliver it like a fastball.
We've just checked on Waters to see if we could get an update, but we have no new information. If you're just joining us, Anthony Waters, the very talented middle linebacker for the Tigers, went down with what looked like an apparent knee injury in the 3rd quarter.
And a lot of colleges don't really tell you the truth about injuries until middle of the week, and I'm sure we won't hear much before the broadcast, so hopefully we will and bring some news to you.
And now a sack here by Josh Pennick as he gets to Cullen Harper.
We got a new offensive line. You got some young offensive linemen in there, but they're have some game experience, but somebody breaks through on the right side.
Loss of 8 yards on the play.
And that's Pennick getting the first sack of the afternoon for the Owls.
Now, you mentioned the new offensive line. Remember, all 5 starters are back on the offensive line, but 9 of the 10 guys in the 2 deep depth chart on the offensive line are also back. So they got all 5 starters back plus 4 backups. That's not bad.
That's depth. That's depth. And like we said, that Cullen Harper is going to be a guy that's going to be counted on at some point in time during the season. A lot of these offensive linemen are going to be accountable too.
So Will Proctor looks like he's done for the day. Winds up with 3 touchdown passes today. Turning it over to the youngsters now. Clemson leading it 38-6. Clemson leads here 38-6. They seem to have this game well in hand now here as you look at the game summary. Roll up 182 yards on the ground and another 166 through the air. Very good on 3rd down efficiency, but the 4 turnovers, that's no good if you're a Clemson Tiger fan. Proctor, though, very good. 13 of 20, Mike. 166 yards plus 3 touchdowns today.
Well, he had a nice debut in his first start this 2006 season for the 5th-year senior. I was very impressed with him and just the way he managed the game. He didn't try to do anything too elaborate as far as throwing balls into coverage and things of that nature because he has tremendous talent around him.
Well, they made this more manageable for Jed Dean to try a long field goal. You look at Will Proctor, and again, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, plus he did have 1 fumble today. But Will Proctor, overall, he'll look at those 2 mistakes he made on the interception and on the fumble on the muffed handoff between he and Davis, and he'll learn from those mistakes. Long field goal effort here for Jed Dean. He's going to try one from 45. The kick is up, and it looks good, and it is good. Jed Dean picking up where he left off last year. He's been perfect today on everything, from field goals to point afters. And Clemson ups the ante. They lead 41-6. Coming back to Memorial Stadium in just a moment. ESPNU College Football is presented by Allstate. Are you in good hands? With Mike Tomczak, I'm Dave Armstrong, welcoming you to Memorial Stadium, Clemson, South Carolina, where the Tigers looking rather impressive today. 41-6 their lead over Florida Atlantic. The only real negative, the 4 turnovers, and then also the injury to Anthony Waters, their talented middle linebacker. We just got an update on Waters. He has a sprained knee. They're going to take more tests tomorrow. Do not have any definitive word on Waters. We'll hope for the best, though, and hope that it's nothing more than a sprain.
Remember, they lost Tremaine Billy for 4 weeks with that broken leg early in training camp.
Broken right ankle for Tremaine Billy. The coverages have been really excellent for Clemson all day long.
Well, it helps when you got a kicker like Dean that can get it 2, 3, 4 yards in the end zone. Some kickers in the NFL can't even get it down that far.
Plus the hang time.
Yes.
It's not a line drive kick into the end zone. It's a high towering kick. Well, we're going to see Rusty Smith back again for Florida Atlantic. They're going to try to give him or any kind of confidence today. Come out of this with something good anyway. He had a really tough first quarter. Did not obtain a first down in this pass in the dirt.
Yeah, very unproductive. He didn't have a completion, I don't think, when he was given the opportunity in the first quarter. 0 for 6 earlier today. And you know, I like Sean Clayton. I think he gives him the best chance to win. What I've seen so far, you know, Rusty Smith has a elongated delivery where Sean Clayton is pretty much getting the ball in and out of his hands pretty fast.
I want to see if we can somehow take a look at that long delivery of Rusty Smith. The way he brings the ball way down. You pointed this out when they were doing the pregame warm-ups. And Rusty Smith, instead of going straight back and straight through, he brings the ball down below his waist. And talk about why this is bad.
Yeah, a prototype quarterback wants to keep the ball right around his shoulder pads. Once you dip it below your waist, it gives the defensive backs an opportunity, and the ball gets away from your body, and you don't have as much velocity on the football. And I'm sure the coaches have worked with him. He's been doing this his whole life. And even though you try to correct it in the heat of the battle, he's going to go back to what he feels comfortable with. But if he can hold that elbow up a lot higher on his delivery, he's going to be more effective with his passes.
3rd and short. Ooh, what a hit by Chris Russell. And it looked like Manley had some daylight, and then Russell came in and closed the door.
You know, these guys are getting an opportunity to show their talents on the field, and team defense is all about running to the football. And when you trust it, run in there and stick your nose in there. Chris Russell could have got a little bit lower and just bloodied the nose a little bit, but he did the job what he had to do.
Well, Russell makes the stick. Manley had just enough for the first down. He gets it up to the 25-yard line. So first down for the Owls. Clock moving. 12:26 and counting left to go in this game. Rusty Smith throws it well beyond his receiver and even beyond the coverage.
Well, those plays coming out of the press box of Gary Nord, 2 receiver routes, max protect. You're keeping 8 guys in to block and protect, but there's 4 secondary people. And with the score being 41-6, I don't think any of the Clemson defensive backs are going to get lulled to sleep and let anyone get behind them.
Defensively, you'd have to really give Clemson an A in this game. They've been able to force some turnovers. They've been swarming with their defense like on that last play. And they haven't given the Owls much room to breathe here today. And the 6 points are a result really more of the miscues of the offense on the turnovers than the defensive miscues.
But it's good work for Vic Koenig's defense. You know, adverse conditions. There are going to be situations that develop throughout the year where they're going to be asked to go on the field and shut the offense down. I said earlier, just because the offense turns it over and you're in negative territory defensively, you have to step up. That's your job, to stop these guys and hold them to a field goal attempt. So good education for this defense of the Clemson Tigers.
Under the defensive coordinator, Vic Koenig, who was in his first year last year, they got better as the season went on. They held 6 of their last 7 opponents to 2 touchdowns or less. In the last 7 games, the opponents averaged just 11.4 points per game. In the first 5, they gave up 26 points per game. So this is a defense that really got comfortable with his system and got a lot better, and it looks like they've picked up where they left off.
And he knows his personnel a lot better, you know, this time of year. He told us the other day that we're a lot better defense when we're on the sideline. Well, every defense in America is a lot better when they're on the sideline, but, you know, a little tongue-in-cheek with that comment. But he loves this area. He loves it. His family loves it down here. He's made a transition after getting released from his coaching job at Troy University. And he's got some athletes on that side of the football. But his main concern, like every defensive coordinator is concerned, Dave, is making sure we're all on the same page. Line up properly, get your alignments, and then play physical and fast once the ball is snapped.
Just shy of midfield. 2nd and 7 for the Owls. Clock under 11 minutes now. Rusty Smith. Well, that was in and out of the hands of the intended receiver. Number 81, Rob Hauser.
It's 3rd and 7.
So Clemson University today, the site for this ESPNU football game presented by Allstate. With Mike Tomczak, I'm Dave Armstrong. We watched a Clemson offense that sputtered at times due to miscues as far as turnovers, but were very efficient in running the ball. James Davis, Reggie Merriweather in particular, almost 100 yards each on the ground. Will Proctor with 3 touchdown passes. Pass caught by Jason Harmon. And this will tell you the difference in the programs. Jason Harmon, a tight end, 6'3", 185 pounds. So these Owls are young. They need to grow up a little bit, and they will. I mean, they're only in the 2nd year of Division I. This is a team that will get better and better as the years go on.
They're not big and bulky yet.
No.
They're fast and they're athletic, and sometimes they're outmanned, but they play hard. They just had a superior opponent today.
Well, it's such a process because you have such a selling job to do to the recruits. You have to convince them to come in and help you build a program. A fortuitous bounce here. Jacoby Ford put it in the playbook. 92 yards. Wow.
Was that deception?
It was luck is what it was.
You know, that's one situation where the football, which is not round, did bounce in the right direction for Jacoby Ford. And we saw a little bit of his speed. He's supposed to be one of the faster ball players in the country.
Boy, once he saw daylight, he was gone. But they're talking to him, saying, hey, Jacoby, look, you can't muff that stuff. He did. He got away with it. The ball bounced right back to him, and in stride, he takes it to the house. The extra point, no good. Chad Dean with a miss and an extra point.
You know, when that ball hits the upright, it's dead. You know, anytime it's a 1-point or 2-point conversion, the defense can't advance it the other way. Let's look at Jacoby Ford fielding this punt. His elbows get outside his body, and the ball just comes down right in his midsection. But aggressive player stays after it. And the rest is history, Dave. Just like you said, 92 yards later, they forgot about that fumble punt.
Once he made the cutback and deked the punter, Mike O'Neill, the rest was easy. And right now, he's breathing a sigh of relief. Because he's thinking, oh, man, I might lose my job on special teams. But no, let's go 92 yards. In fact, it turns out to be the longest punt return in Clemson history.
Against his homeboys, too. He's from Palm Beach, Florida, I think. Jacoby Ford.
He is.
And he had one to send back to Florida. He airmailed that one.
He goes from being the GOAT to the hero, all on one play.
I heard somebody tell me a long time ago it happens that fast at the blink of the eye.
Look at Tommy Bowden over there saying, son, you got a little bit lucky, but way to stay after it.
That's why I recruited you. He's telling Davis the same thing. You know, it's probably redundant for me to keep on saying you have to protect the football in this game to be successful. But we saw more examples today of people that have not protected the football. And if you're going to be a winning football team, that pigskin in your arms can pay huge dividends for you.
He's getting an earful from special teams coach down there saying you got to keep those elbows in. You got to catch the ball first. That's the first thing you have to do.
And Jacoby's saying, come on, coach, let's talk about what happened after I got the ball back.
But, coach, didn't you see me go down the sideline? That's the longest punt return in Clemson history, coach. Yeah, it was, but Floyd swarmed at the 20. Well, I'm thinking back to what you said at the beginning.
I don't think, yeah, I'm sorry, Dave, but I don't think Florida Atlantic weathered the emotion early. You had a young quarterback in Rusty Smith that was a little anxious out there. They didn't protect the football. They had 2 turnovers that were very costly, but Clemson did play fast today. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes.
In the secondary, Mike Hamlin came up with that big interception. But the goal line went the other way, so the secondary did step up. They got better in that area. And I think, like you said, Dave, the defense has played very sound today.
Rusty Smith lobbing it out there, and again, good coverage. Oh, we're going to say that Roy Walker had a little contact.
That's a ticky-tack call on my vantage point, but, you know, they're doing their job. They're seeing what I didn't see up here. 17. Roy Walker, just watch his left hand. They're going to call that good call. Tremendous call. Anytime that left hand gets on that pad, you see it time and time again. Pass interference is going to happen.
Pass interference on the defense, number 17. 15 yards from the previous spot. Automatic. First down.
And a good coaching point. I heard a lot of defensive backs talk over the years. You put your left hand on their hip. They'll never call that. But once you get it up along their jersey, you got some issues.
And Tommy Bowden, who really got into the lap, literally, of Gorham Wood, the field judge, earlier in the game. That time he can just smile, shake his head, and say, well, 47-6, Tommy. Don't say anything else.
Yes.
Willie Floyd again.
And these officials, they do network. They do talk to other officials around the country. And I guarantee this highlight's going to be played where Bowden went on his tirade on the sideline. And he'll be very apologetic and all that stuff, do the right stuff, but they're going to remember that.
Well, again, I will say that I don't think that Tommy Bowden meant to hit the field judge with his headphones. However, he shouldn't have thrown him in the first place. There's a fumble. Rusty Smith pops it up. Jamie Cumbie, a true freshman, was right there to fall on the ball, and another turnover for the Owls.
Well, we did talk about how the defense has performed today. They became very offensive and opportunistic with the gaining some turnovers, and that's what Vic Canning said. We had 10 interceptions a year ago. We need to get a whole heck of a lot more.
And a miscue there, and he trips.
That's embarrassing. Yeah, he should be down. Yeah, when the ball touches the ground, it's the same thing as a knee. I would challenge that call if I was Coach Schnellenberger.
Well, the replay official did not overturn it, and there was no challenge from Schnellenberger. Remember, coaches get one challenge per game now. And you see Ford hanging onto the ball, and a good gain as he comes around on the reverse and gets it down to the 18-yard line.
Well, Rusty Smith comes out to your right, and the running back didn't know where to go. He was late in his assignment.
No, I think the ball was coming out. Yeah, the ball's out, and the knee is down now. No, that's a good call. You agree?
I do agree with that call.
Right now, I'm not Coach Schnellenberger, but from what we've seen today, I would think Sean Clayton might be their starting quarterback when they line it up next week against Kansas State.
I just think he gives them the best chance, best opportunity to win. And after watching the tape, even wasn't very proud on offense. They did do a lot of good things well, and they could build on that for next week.
Clayton came in and moved the team. I mean, they didn't put a lot of points on the board. He did throw the interception down near the goal line in the first half. You know, but he did move the team. And so far, Rusty Smith has not moved this team anywhere. And
it seems like to me he's doing a lot more thinking than he is just being natural and letting the football go. And
Florida Atlantic did not wrap up the quarterback, Cullen Harper. Well, Howard Schnellenberger is going to probably get pretty upset about this because they had a sack and they just let Harper out of the grasp.
Well, here's that naked bootleg that takes a long time to develop. In 45, Sergio Sincere didn't finish the play. And as a defensive player, you're always coached to finish the play, finish the play. And that's one time he got laxed. And the quarterback does a nice job. Continue to execute that play.
Well, they're not finishing this game well, the Owls, and I'm sure that won't sit well with a veteran coach like Schnellenberger. So 3rd and 2 here for Harper. Again, feeling the pressure, and he'll toss it out of bounds. He was outside the tackle, so that won't be intentional grounding.
See, that's good for Cullen Harper. He got his jersey dirty. Now the equipment manager has to wash it. Mama's worrying if he's okay. Fix your jersey. Put that mouthpiece in the helmet there. I mean, everyone has to be in vogue, Dave, nowadays. I mean, it's not just put the mouthpiece in your sock. You got to put it up high and do all the stuff that everyone else is doing.
Who was it we saw last year, that backup quarterback who was so nervous coming in, he never took the mouthpiece out of his face guard? Well, here's another opportunity for Jad Dean to add some more points to an impressive day for him. He's missed 1 extra point. He's 2 for 2 on field goals. This one from 32 yards out. It's up, and it's no good. Jad Dean has missed his last 2 kicks. 1 an extra point. This one a field goal. Clemson keeps the lead at 47-6 with 6:48 remaining. Clemson leading this one 47-6. They'll go to 1-0 on the year, and big trip to Boston College next week. Here's how you can find out about everything in college sports. It's your new online source for all things college sports, ESPNU.com. Brand new online service. It's the gateway to all college sports content from ESPN, combining the latest news with an expanded collection of new exclusive material, scores, columns, videos, highlights. You got it all. ESPNU.com. Check it out. Let's go to the studio. Mike Gleason has an update on that Tennessee game. What's going on, Mike?
Well, Dave, how often do you see this little curl here, Robert Meacham from Eric Ainge? Now, this wouldn't happen if Steve Israel was playing DB, right?
Hey, you're taught only to come underneath if you can get the ball. The DB didn't get the ball. He should have been up front, grabbing cloth. Just get him down.
Volunteers by 2 touchdowns, Dave.
That could be a huge win for Fulmer and company as Tennessee in front of 108,000 fans at home. The greatest venues for college sports anywhere.
He's probably the hottest coach in the hot seat.
You think so? There's a few.
There's a few of them. There's probably half a dozen of them, but those people down there in Rocky Tall don't take to the liking of having those too many losses in the SEC.
Well, and a win over Cal today, that'd be impressive.
Extremely.
Yeah, I mean, to beat a top 10 opponent, even though it's at home, that'd be a big time win.
No bowl game. They were around the whole month of December. The sports talk shows, the newspaper articles, they were just hammering them all the way through until their first game, and they have an opportunity to change that byline.
On 3rd and 11. Smith throws it in the flat. And let's see where they mark it. Looks like they're going to give him enough for the first down. I think that's the first down that Rusty Smith has garnered here today.
I believe it is. You know, he's going to keep battling. That's one thing about you having 2 quarterbacks in the game. You know, they can learn from each other, from what they've done well, what they haven't done well. And that's why it's got to be a friendly competition at the quarterback position, because it's not always easy to be the backup. It's you know, you always want to be the guy under center.
I see what you mean, too, about the way he brings that ball way down like that. Let's get you back to Mike Gleason, our SportsCenter U in-game update.
And let's check on the Florida Gators, Dave. Chris Leak, plenty of time in the pocket, good patience, steps up, and finally finds Dallas Baker for the touchdown for the Gators. And they're on top of Southern Miss right now. And you see Montana State knocked off Colorado. Not a good debut for Dan Hawkins, the former Boise State coach.
No, it's not, but he'll be given time since it's his first year there, and they had to reload a lot with the Buffaloes. But still, that's not a good loss for the Colorado team. In and out of the hands of Avery Holly. So it's 3rd and 10.
Well, I like that throw by Rusty Smith. He stood in the pocket, he trusted it, and let it go with some authority. You know, and he can develop a redshirted freshman. Watch back in the pocket. The ball does dip a little low when out of the delivery, but the timing was good, the location was good, but the end result was a drop. And unfortunately, it goes down in the quarterback stats as an incompletion.
Yeah, it does. He's had a rough day on the stat page. And in every other way, look out. Oh, boy.
That's a fumble.
And picked up. And into the end zone for a touchdown for Sergio Gilliam. It was Ricky Sapp who had the initial hit. He's the backup to Gaines Adams, just a freshman Sapp.
That's very deflating for a team when you turn the football over. But it's even more deflating when they turn it over and it goes all the way into the end zone. Sergio Gilliam was a starter last year in the secondary. He's trying to work his way back up in the lineup.
Look at this hit, though, by Ricky Sapp. Boy, that's a quick move.
Quick move, and he cuts the edge down and goes right for those numbers in the back end of Rusty Smith. You know, a defensive player knows how to turn into an offensive player pretty quick when they get an interception or a fumble. And Sergio Gilliam did a nice job finishing that playoff.
A lot to cheer about if you're a Tiger fan today now, as they have really put it to the Owls, 53-6. So certainly Clemson, Mike, they're going to go into next week's matchup at Boston College with a lot of confidence.
A lot of confidence, and they're making plays. You know, Vic Koenig talked about it. We got to be more offensive on defense, and they've done that. You know, I saw Boston College the other day, their next opponent, and they didn't shock me at all or surprise me of the quality team they have, but 60 minutes, anything can happen.
Yeah, Jad Dean gets back on track after missing his last 2 kicks. That one perfect, right through the uprights. They're certainly waving the flag here for the Tigers as they lead 54-6. Now remember, 2 big games coming up at Boston College, then at Florida State as father and son go head-to-head. And a couple of home games against North Carolina and Louisiana Tech. At Wake against Temple. Georgia Tech looks to be a big matchup on the 21st. And then, of course, that Thursday night showdown at Virginia Tech on ESPN.
Well, in this part of the country, that last game against South Carolina, you know, they don't get a break until the week before that game. They play 11 consecutive weeks, and that's pretty hostile on a team that has suffered some injuries today. Go 11 weeks in a row in the regular season.
The Tigers getting a workout today.
He's cheating.
He's got to do 54 push-ups, folks.
You got to oil those elbows up. I must be 180 degrees in that suit. Combat boots on.
I think he's got on his knees too. Like, oh my goodness, that Tiger's ready for a nap. He might be the only one in the stadium right now hoping that Clemson doesn't score again.
Give him something to drink, something cold and refreshing. Well, what's your first experience like down here, Dave?
I love it. I love it. Love the atmosphere here. You had a chance to talk with Rick Barnes, a former basketball coach here at Clemson, who's now at Texas. And even Rick says, hey, I love the atmosphere at Texas, obviously, you know, national champs and all that, and they love their football down in Lone Star State. But he said, you know what, you'll love it at Clemson. They don't take a backseat to anybody. And they were telling us earlier that when Rick Barnes was first hired as basketball coach here, that one of the things he did to ingratiate himself with the Tiger faithful was that he actually was on the pregame radio show for every football game. He'd go around to the tailgate parties and interview some of the Clemson fans. And he became very popular before he ever even coached a game. Couple-yard run here for Florida Atlantic as we get you back to Mike Gleason. Mike.
Well, Dave, a reminder for those of you watching ESPNU waiting for the big ACC Big East matchup. Tyler Palko getting ready to open up his senior season for the Pitt Panthers. 41 touchdowns already. Greg Lee may be gone, but he'll find a new receiver. It's Pittsburgh and Virginia coming up right after your game, Dave.
Can't wait to see that one, and we'll see what happened. Remember last year Pittsburgh got off to that awful start, rebounded a little bit, but you see Pittsburgh, that's a big game for them at home against Virginia.
Yeah, they have a lot of freshmen that are going to be playing in that game as well. Dave Wanstead has done a nice job recruiting the Pennsylvania area. But this Tyler Palko, he's a gamer. He reminds me a lot of a young Steve Young. That southpaw look and just that mindset of linebacker mentality at quarterback.
Clock rolling here with about 4 minutes to go. Florida Atlantic in no real hurry here. They just want to run clock and get out of here without any further damage. 3rd and 7. Only 1 first down for Rusty Smith by our account. Make it 2. Good pass catch as they're able to get it downfield to Conchario Johnson. Look at their schedule. Look at the way they start, Mike. Next week in Manhattan at Kansas State, then to Stillwater, Oklahoma State, then they go to South Carolina. Then they've got a Sun Belt matchup with Louisiana Monroe, and then a week off finally at home October 12th. Hello, fans. Oh, by the way, here we are
for the first home game.
Man, that's got to be the latest home debut of the year in college football.
When you're building a program, you know, you play these big schedules, big time scheduled programs, you generate some working capital to try to get that 40, 50,000 seat stadium that Coach Snellenberger's vying for.
Chris Russell with the tackle.
Well, you see when Schnellenberger actually went there in May of '98, hired as the director of operations, then named head coach in '99. They had their first game in 2001. Were Division II for several years. Then last year went to Division I for the first year, finished 2-9. So they got to go through all those growing pains all over again.
2 years ago, Dave, they had a pretty good run. They went 20-6, at the latter part of their Division I AA program, the first year in Division I. I'm sorry, their last 2 years of Division I AA. And then last year they were 2-9, like you mentioned.
Well, if anybody can either start a program or turn one around, it might be Schnellenberger. Look what he did. Everybody gives him all that credit for what he did at Miami, and rightfully so. He won a national title there.
Well, that program was
but they forget about Louisville.
Yeah.
I mean, Louisville, he did an unbelievable job at Louisville. And that'll be a first down. They'll move the chains as they're able to push the pile enough for the first down.
And I think they only have 2 out-of-state recruits. I mean, they have a pretty good crop of athletes. They're competing with Miami, Florida State, Florida, and USF.
Yep.
Florida International.
A lot of teams in Florida, but a lot of talent.
Yes.
And that's maybe both a blessing and a curse, isn't it? I mean, to have a program in Boca Raton, in that Miami area, where he is really still a legend, that's got to help him on the recruiting trail. But also he has to recruit against the likes of all those teams you mentioned.
And I asked him the other day in our conference call, Dave, how much coaching does he still do? And he said, I'm out there coaching the coaches. But I guarantee you, I was talking to Steve Walsh earlier, he's a very fiery guy. He's out there coaching positions as well. And at 72 years young, he even joked with us and said he's not going to retire until 8 years after Bobby Bowden and 5 years after Joe Paterno.
Yeah.
So
that's right. He said, I still got some time left.
That hair might be turning brown. I think it's going to rekindle and turn brown again.
Well, they ran into a buzzsaw here today in the Clemson Tigers, who playing in front of over 80,000 delighted fans here in Clemson. And we're going to look now at the guy that was the man of the hour, the DirecTV player of the game, Will Proctor. Proctor starting after being in the wings for all those years. Charlie Whitehurst with the quarterback at Clemson, and Proctor just waited his turn. Here he is, a fifth-year senior, comes out with a 13 for 20 day, 3 touchdowns and 166 yards through the air.
Well, Mom and Dad will give him a big hug and a nice meal afterwards. Nice job by the fifth-year senior, like you said, Dave, and something to build on for next week and the 10 weeks after that.
Under a minute to go. Oh, still hitting hard. Right down to the final plays.
And a lot of these guys out there, Dave, might not get an opportunity in the next couple of weeks. So here's their chance to shine and make an impact. Like I said, it's better to hit the other team instead of hitting your own teammates in practice.
Well, Florida Atlantic's going to go ahead and stop the clock here and take a timeout.
They want to get 6 points.
Yeah.
They want to get that touchdown. And, it's always great to end on a positive note. I don't care if you're getting beat 54-6. When you're building a program, and I've never built a program before, but just seeing the template that they're trying to put together here. USF was the same way. Florida Atlantic was the same way down there. I wish him well in this program, because he does tremendous things for young men.
Well, I keep thinking of Clemson today and what they did right, and they did a lot of things right. I thought defensively they were superior today. Now, again, you have to look at the quality of their opponent today, and not to take anything away at all from the Owls. Look, this is a young program, and we've outlined that here today. I'm not trying to demean their effort, but they are young. I mean, really young. They've got a lot of freshmen that are playing, true freshmen, redshirt freshmen. They're undersized. They're undermanned a little bit at this point. But still, Clemson came out and played very, very well defensively. Offensively, they did what they had to do. Now, the 4 turnovers, that's something they're going to have to address and something they don't like. And, of course, Jacoby Ford had that 92-yard punt return, but even that had an asterisk by it because he fumbled it first.
He wanted to freeze the punt coverage team.
But I thought the best news perhaps today was the play of Will Proctor.
Yes.
I don't think they have anything to worry about with him at the helm.
The only thing you have to worry about, Dave, is him getting complacent, him not staying within himself, you know, him trying to do too much because there's so many talented people around him. But I think Coach Bowden will get in his ear if he gives Proctor an earful like he did that official earlier. I think he'll be pretty humbled.
Yeah, earlier in the game, Tommy Bowden really got into the lap, into the face, and the officials, because he wanted to challenge a call, and they didn't see him. He wanted to call timeout to challenge a call. They didn't call the timeout. He did not get the challenge, and it resulted in a turnover for Clemson. Whether they would have had the turnover anyway, I mean, we didn't really see anything that would have reversed the call on the field. Another timeout taken here by Rusty Smith. And don't forget, coming up next, big matchup in Pittsburgh. Virginia at Pittsburgh. That game coming up right after this one's over. So stay tuned to ESPNU for all the action. Virginia at Pittsburgh. It's coming up next.
You know, even though it's the first game of the season for those two ball clubs, Virginia and Pittsburgh, I think it's an identity game for both teams. You know, Al Groh, the coach of Virginia, has lost a number of assistants, and you know, Dave Wannstedt's trying to get Pittsburgh back on the map on a national scale. It'll be interesting to tune in as soon as we get out of here. We'll go find a place to watch this game.
Yes, we will. I understand traffic's a little troublesome getting out of Clemson, so we might be sitting for a while. But we'll go find a place nearby to check out Mike Adamle and crew and watch Virginia Pittsburgh. On 3rd and 8, somehow, I don't know how, Rusty Smith was able to get that ball through about 15 orange-clad arms.
When you throw it to the back shoulder like that, 9 times out of 10, it's not going to be caught. But Cortez Gent got his eyes back to the ball and did a nice job receiving that.
So 1st and goal at the 2. They won't get it on this play. Eric McIntosh stood up at the 1-yard line. Florida Atlantic does have 1 timeout remaining if they want to use it. And they do. So with 6 seconds remaining, they're going to use their final timeout. So Will Proctor today, he looked very, very good. He did have the 1 interception. And I'm not going to really even blame him yet for that fumble when he and Davis collided, because that very well could have been Davis's fault.
Well, like I told you earlier, Dave, you always put the blame on the quarterback because they could burden the load. They have greasy shoulders and deaf ears, and that's the mindset you have to have when you play that position. But you told me a great story that after the bowl game last year with Will Proctor, what he said to his teammates.
Yeah, he immediately said, as soon as they got on the plane after beating Colorado in that Champs Bowl, he said, right then I assumed leadership of this team. I knew from that moment on Charlie Whitehurst was gone and I was in charge.
Yeah.
And I love that. I mean, he took ownership of that and said, this is my team. And you know what? He has earned the respect of this team because of the way that he has waited in the wings with class and dignity, without griping, and then the way he led everything throughout spring and summer. And right now they have a reason to smile as they put a whooping on the Owls here today.
He's a quality quarterback because he spends a lot of time in the weight room, and that's where a lot of linemen are, a lot of teammates are. So he's got the voice in the ears of a lot of teammates backing him up.
That should be the last play of the game. Florida Atlantic out of timeouts and now out of time. And Clemson a winner here today. Well, once again, our final score, Clemson wins it 54-6. Good start to the season for the Tigers. For more information, log on to your new home for the finest in college sports, ESPNU.com. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For Mike, Tom, Zach, and our entire crew, Dave Armstrong saying so long from Clemson, South Carolina. Let's get you right now to Pittsburgh and Mike Adamle. Mike?